Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. हरि नाम संकीर्तन की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की, ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Sixth Canto, 16th chapter, text 57. Yad etad vismritam pumsho madbhavam भिन्नम आत्मनः ततः संसार एतस्य देहाद् देहो मृते मृतिः। यद एतद् विस्मृतं पुंसो मद्भावं भिन्नमात्मनः ततः संसार एतस्य देहादेहो मृतिर्मृतिः। यद एतद् विस्मृतं पुंसो मद्भावं भिन्नमात्मनः ततः संसार एतस्य देहादेहो मृतिर्मृतिः। यद एतद् विस्मृतं पुंसो मद्भावं भिन्नमात्मनः ततः संसार एतस्य देहादेहो मृतिर्मृतिः। Yat, which, etat, this, vismritam, forgotten, pumshaha, of the living entity, madbhavam, my spiritual position, bhinnam, separation, atmanaha, from the Supreme Soul, tataha, from that, samsaraha, material conditional life, etasya, of the living entity, dehat, from one body, deha, another body, mritihi, from one death, mritihi, another death. When a living entity, thinking himself different from me, forgets his spiritual identity of qualitative oneness with me in eternity, knowledge and bliss, his material conditioned life begins. In other words, instead of identifying his interest with mine, he becomes interested in his bodily expansions like his wife, children and material possessions. In this way, by the influence of his actions, one body comes from another. And after one death, another death takes place. But generally, the Mayavadi philosophers or persons influenced by Mayavadi philosophers think themselves as good as Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the cause of their conditional life. As stated by the Vaishnava poet Jagadanand Pandit in his Prema Vivarta, Krishna Bahirmukha hai bhog vancha kare, nikatastha maya tare, japatiya dhare. As soon as a living entity forgets his constitutional position and endeavors to become one with the Supreme, his conditional life begins. The conception that the Supreme Brahman and living entity are equal not only in quality but also in quantity is the cause of conditional life. If one forgets the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entity, his conditional life begins. Conditional life means giving up one body to accept another and undergoing death to accept death again. The Mayavadi philosopher teaches the philosophy of Tattvam Asi, saying you are the same as God. He forgets that Tattvam Asi applies in terms of marginal position of living entity, who is like sunshine. There is heat and light in the sun, and there is heat and light in the sunshine, and thus they are qualitatively one. But one should not forget that the sunshine rests on the sun. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I am the original source of Brahman. The sunshine is important because of the presence of the sun globe. It is not that the sun globe is important because of the all-pervasiveness of the sunshine. Forgetfulness and misunderstanding of this fact is called Maya. Because of forgetfulness of one's constitutional position and that of Supreme Lord, one comes into Maya or Samsara, conditional life. In this regard, Madhvacharya says, Sarva bhinnam paratmanam vismarans samsared iha abhinnam samsmaran yati tamo nasti atra samshaya. When one thinks that living entity is non-different in all respects from the Supreme Lord, there is no doubt that he is in ignorance, tamaha. Om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Guru Dintarnam Parmanand Madhvam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. The blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Like to share something on this important section, verse of this important section. King Chitraketu meets the Lord. So Chitraketu, after his association of Narad Muni and Angira Muni, he practiced devotional life under their supervision, and in a very short period of time, he met Lord face to face. And now Lord is giving him instructions. Anantadev is giving him instructions. So even though Lord has given his darshan already, still the instructions are happening. And the instructions are not something apparently, something to do with bhav and some very esoteric ones. But it is giving instructions on the constitutional position of the living entity, soul, body, karma, how the living entity gets entangled, what is the position of the Supreme Lord, all that. Because there is no limit to which our devotional service can be purified. And devotional service gets purified with progressive realization in Krishna consciousness. And realization happens by application of knowledge. Thus hearing knowledge is important. and thus the application will happen. And post application realization will come, and then the devotional service which we are doing gets more and more purified. So there is never a time where one can say, okay, I don't need knowledge, no, I'm done with it, over. It's always needed. In fact, Lord also, the different aspects of bhakti, actions of bhakti, are nothing but manifesting from the Chit Shakti of the Lord. So actually the actions in devotional service leads to the manifestation of spiritual knowledge in the heart of a devotee. So that kind of knowledge is always needed and seeked, because there is no limit to which devotional service can be purified. And thus Lord is, after his darshanam, he is giving such knowledge to him. So, and Chitraketu is also very readily accepting this kind of knowledge. So that's the right state of a devotee. And specifically in this verse, very inconceivable topic is being discussed. The position of living entity vis-a-vis the position of Lord, how they are same, how they're different. And interestingly, if one thinks one is one with Lord, then also conditional life begins. If one forgets that, if one just sees the difference, then also conditional life begins. So it's a very delicate balance to understand what is Lord, what is living entity's position, and what is everything. So we go back to the basics of Lord's principal energies. And Lord's principal energies are three. Of course, there are many energies, but principal energies are three. One is called Antaranga energy, the spiritual energy of the Lord. And in that, everything comes of the Lord. Swarup Shakti of the Lord. And the Lord and his dham, associates, everything, paraphernalia, everything comes in that. And then there is Bahiranga Shakti, which is the material energy, in which the dead matter comes, and this whole dead matter is activated by Lord's presence in that, in each and every atom. And thus matter acts the way it is supposed to act. The chair will act like a chair because Lord has empowered the chair in the atoms. And it is exhibiting the properties, what it is supposed to do. It is not that it is happening automatically. And then there is Tatastha Shakti, of which jivas are part of. Tatastha is a very interesting area, and belongs to us only. Jai Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Bhagwan ki jai, Gaur Nitai Bhagwan ki, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra ki jai. And the example is given that of a beach, all of us, we have visited holy places like Jagannath Puri, and there we have a beach, and on the beach there is there is land and then there is water, but then there is a portion which you cannot say exactly as land also, and which you cannot say exactly as water also, but it is tatastha, marginal. Okay, we relish that portion a lot, but slightly ahead we go, we drown, and back we can't enjoy, So tatastha Shakti. Similarly, jivas are also not entirely material, definitely not material at all, because constitutionally we are soul, so spiritual. So then we are not exactly land, not we are exactly water also, because we are getting covered by Maya. That's what Anantadev is telling, that we forget, and living entity gets entangled in this life and takes one birth after another. So jiva, as long as jiva, as it is being mentioned, Krishna Bahirmukha, as long as a jiva is harboring this desire to enjoy, Jiva Shakti, although is spiritual, but behaves like material. Behaves like material only. Because Krishna Bahirmukha, Jiva Bhog Vancha Kare. So while it is spiritual but subjected to birth again and again, death again and again, and actually no spiritual qualities are exhibited actually. All material qualities are only exhibited. No spiritual quality being. Although Jiva is spiritual. So in that sense, Tatastha Shakti we cannot say is entirely spiritual also. And that's what is not exactly Brahman also, which becomes the problem with the Mayavadi scholars. And since there is a potential to or to come back to one's constitutional position and detach oneself from the karma, etc., and be fixed in knowledge and connect with the Lord, like the Swarup, the souls which are part of the Swarup Shakti of Lord. Since there is that potential, therefore they are not material also. There is a spiritual. That potential is there. So Jiva definitely is not material, because we all know the basics that no, we are soul and we are not this body. Body is changing, we are not changing. And then even if the body keeps, there's a death, still the soul continues. That is fine. But Jiva Shakti is not even Swarup Shakti of the Lord, unless the Jiva Shakti takes shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. Even not by detaching oneself from the material energy. Even that is not sufficient. And that's what becomes the fault of the Mayavadi scholars, that I'll detach myself from this matter and thus I have become spiritual. And that is not sufficient. That may be a part of the solution, but that's not the solution. Because that's again an offense to the Lord and His Swarup Shakti, that just by detaching oneself from the matter, so-called, one starts to consider oneself as liberated soul. So Jiva is not exactly material. Jiva is not part of Swarup Shakti also. Jiva is part of Tatastha Shakti of the Lord. But only when Tatastha Shakti takes constant shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord, of the Swarupa of the Lord, then the liberation actually happens. It is not a default setting that, okay, since I have disconnected from matter, then it will happen. No. It's a constant engagement in association of Swarup Shakti of the Lord that is going to happen. That is going to what? So, if we see closely, the instructions of Lord to King Chitraketu is actually divided into these two parts. On the one hand, Lord is showing the futility and the process of material entanglement, and at the same time he's establishing that how a soul can be always in his constant touch, in his Swarup Shakti, Swarupa of the Lord, constant association of that. These two things happen simultaneously. Because otherwise, why Krishna Bahirmukha hoye Bhogwan, Jiva Bhogwancha? As soon as that is there, then Bhogwancha starts. So this is always a parallel thing, and not one over another. It is always the parallel thing. That a Jiva detaches oneself from the fruits of the material activities, and at the same time, Jiva constantly puts oneself in the association of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. So it is not going to happen by default. It is a constant effort, and that's sadhana bhakti. That's sadhana bhakti. So that's why Prabhupada told that Sahajiyasm is also the other side of Mayavad, because one immediately starts thinking, I am part of Swarup Shakti only, liberated. So thinking oneself to be great devotee is also like that misconception, because great devotee is only like those who are under the shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. They are the great devotees, and we are, whatever greatness is to follow those who are part of that Swarup Shakti, who are actually taken Mahatmanas tu mam partha. Taking shelter of such Mahatmas is the only hope and scope. So these two things run parallel. So therefore we should be clear that no, just because we have accepted devotional life doesn't mean the liberation has started or liberation has happened. It will take time. It takes time. We are very, very clearly Tatastha Shakti of the Lord. Only after the constant association of Swarup Shakti that will happen. Now how does this work? Okay, because actually taking shelter of Swarup Shakti comes later. First one has to, or rather it happens parallelly, but then to stably take shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord, one has to be detached from the fruitive activities which we are doing. That's why it is mentioned earlier also and later. It's kamya karma. And here also, bhog vancha kore. Kamya karma. It is called kamya karma. As long as a living entity is engaged in kamya karma, it is very difficult to completely take shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. So while one is engaged in devotional service, one has to cultivate the knowledge about the futility of the karma, about the futility of the fruitive activities. And that's called Nishkam karma. Nishkam karma yoga. There is Kamya karma and there is Nishkam karma. So Nishkam karma means acting in peace and without any desire. Or rather, acting not in a ashanta way. Bhukti mukti kami sakale ashanta. So Krishna Bhakta is Nishkam, Ataiva Shanta. So the symptom of Nishkam is one is Ashanta. Symptom of Kamya karma is one is Ashanta. One is non-peaceful, one is not peaceful. It's Kamya, Nishkam. Actually, why Krishna told of Nishkam karma is because and why this is very futile is because karma in itself, and that is what Anantadev is also explaining over here, is karma has a problem. Karma produces two results. One which we get immediately and one which comes in future. So as long as one is working for immediate results and one is very much attached to it, one has to enjoy or suffer the result which comes later. There are two fruits of karma also. One immediately we receive and then we receive other. Let's say we do some activity. We do certain enjoyment right now and we get that enjoyment, but because of doing that in association we exploit others. There is a future karma now getting ready. So karma is always broken into two parts. The result of karma or the fruitive result of the karma. But instead of focusing on that, on the immediate result and the future result, the focus while doing karma has to be gaining wisdom, gaining purification. That is actually the fruit of karma. And that is actually Nishkam karma's gift. Gyan, wisdom, understanding, knowledge. As long as one is lost in the immediate and circumventing the future results or aspiring for future results and tolerating the austerities for immediate results, it is fruitive activity only. It is fruitive and it will continue to bind a living entity. So first thing is one has to be situated in the position which is actually stable, Shanta, where one can be Shanta. Atayava Shanta. So Shanta, one is Shanta in that position. And in that position then one has to see that no, I am not getting lost with the immediate results and the future results. Rather the focus is to gain wisdom. The focus is to gain purification. Because anyways results will come by doing actions. That's what Krishna told Nanda Baba as well when he was worshipping Indra, that any which ways the results are going to come. You don't have to worry. Prabhupada also makes this point, no? Dharma, artha, kam, moksha means, dharma actually means varnashram dharma, Prabhupada says. So anyways the results come. By doing the proper actions, results will come by the grace of Lord, any which ways. But what is important, focus which has to be there is gaining wisdom in that. Unless the karma doesn't happen, Gyan will not come. So simply thinking I'll not act. That's why there is a focus on responsibility. That's why there is a focus on duty. Why? Because you have to do something to get something. Simply imagining that I have it, that's not going to work. That's imagination. No, if I just imagine I'm offering bhoga to the Lord, I mean, of course that also works, you know. There was a case of the Brahmana, you know, but generally it is not out of laziness and lethargy. Yeah. But in general, one has to be fixed in one's responsibility and duty. Why? Because that is going to lead to wisdom. That is going to lead to gyan. And that gyan, that wisdom will provide further stability to perform, to continue in the simultaneously when we are doing, it will strengthen our position to accept the shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. That's Nishkam Karma. That's a position. That's why will then otherwise Lord say about Kamya Karma? Why will Prabhupada mention over here Bhog Vancha Kare? That's important to understand. Nishkam Karma. What are the symptoms when we are actually, because sometimes fruitive activities are assumed, or Kamya Karma is being assumed when one is actually working for the gross results. But it's actually subtle as well. Anything to do with aspiring for certain positions, aspiring for certain things is all Kamya Karma. Now what is the barometer to see that how much I am dipped into Kamya Karma and how much I am dipped into Nishkam Karma is how much superior I feel to others who don't have that thing. How much superior I feel. How much people who don't have it feel uncomfortable in the company, in my company. You know, so the one may have money, but if one is making poor uncomfortable because of the presence of money, that is a problem. Janma Aishwarya Shruti Shibhi is a problem when that sukha or that result of karma has gone up our head. And then we think ourselves as superior, others as inferior. And same goes, it's just money, it's about beauty, it's about knowledge, it's about the subtlest to the grossest thing. How much I feel I am superior to others. How much I feel I am a devta of others. And others are inferior. And I make them feel in a subtle way. Sometimes grossly we don't say. It's okay. But it comes in a very subtle way. And people catch subtleties. Oh, I am superior. You are inferior. People feel that, okay. So we are inferior. Let me also one day become like the superior person. Then I'll also make others feel inferior. This is Kamya Karma. Making people feel uncomfortable about the lackings what they have in their life. The deficiencies what they have in their life. And somewhere feeling proud of the efficiencies in one's own life. That's Kamya Karma. So, as long as one that is there, then Bhog Vancha Kare, that is Bhog. That I am superior to the others. I am superior. This person is inferior. This is superior. I am superior. That kind of bhavana is very wrong. The opposite, Nishkam Karma is like making, even though those objects may be there, but that has not gone up in the head. That has not gone up in the head. That now I've got this, so now like I am the one, you know. So that has not gone up in the head. Rather the focus is actually wisdom. Rather the focus is actually gaining knowledge. Rather the focus is actually delving deeper into one's responsibility and simultaneously delving deeper into the devotional aspect. That is the focus and not this moving in the head. That is Krishna consciousness. That is acting at the level of consciousness and not at the level of, body. So that is where it all starts. That is a sadhana. So it is not so easy to give up things and it is not so easy to accept. I mean, both these things can lead to Kamya Karma. Okay, that's what Mayavadis, why they are thinking that they're superior, because somewhere they feel that superiority that we have given, Tattvamasi, that something has happened, which makes me superior than others. But actually Nishkam Karma means I'm okay. And the test is actually how much people feel around us, especially who are close to us, feel threatened by, our possessions, feel toxic due to our behavior and positions. That is what is very important. So assuming that position, assuming the possessions, assuming the things so much so that one goes to the point of you know softly, nicely, or harshly imposing one's position on others. Sometimes it may happen in a very soft way also. Sometimes it may happen in a very harsh way also. But imposing one's superiority, that is kamya karma. And that is there, then it is not going to happen. That is not going to. That's why Nishkinchana, that Kunti Maharani says that no, Janma Aishwarya Shruti Shibi, why she says is that still, I mean, her sons continued to enjoy, but it never went in their heads. It never went into Yudhishthir Maharaj's heads. It never went into Arjuna's head. They maintained the respect to everyone. They maintained the culture even in whatever situation they were in, whether in the forest or the king of the world. The culture maintained for them. And that's why they were qualified. That's why they could stably take shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord also. That's why. So these two things therefore happen simultaneously. Krishna Bahirmukha, like these two things happen simultaneously, that as soon as a living entity is Bahirmukha, means he is not focusing within, then Jeev Bhog Vancha Kare. And then Maya is ready for its slapping. So, so therefore, these also things happen simultaneously. That let now living entity which is now engaged in the fruitive activities realize the futility of the fruitive activities and focus on whatever work one is doing, whatever position one is in according to the is external condition. One does that with the responsibility to get purified and to get wisdom. And simultaneously, while we have accepted devotional life, but we want to do it stably, and then simultaneously we accept the shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. Then it becomes more offenseless, then it becomes more purified, and then it becomes better and more pleasing to Lord and the Vaishnavas around us. So that's the the essential message in this. So while we have spoken on Nishkam and its level, then what does it mean to take shelter of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord? What is the spirit of taking that? Then with this mindset of mode of goodness, then when one takes or regularly takes shelter of the Supreme Lord, then one will not do activities of devotional life externally. Rather, one will become antarmukha. And that is a second symptom. Just like in this transition, the first symptom was that how much I am making, kamya karma or nishkam, which we discussed. The second symptom is antarmukha. Krishna Bahirmukha, stably practice Krishna antarmukha. That means devotional level, not in a very gross way, not in a very distracted way, not in a very inattentive way, but actually in an attentive way. Actually at the level of soul. That's why Prabhupada in his purport to HareKrishna Mahamantra, he says that it is coming at the level of consciousness. It is not from the mental plane or intellectual plane or this plane or that plane. Why? Because Krishna Antarmukha. Then whatever devotional activities, whatever quantum we can do, that is okay. But whatever is happening with that quality that it is happening at the level of consciousness. I am using my senses, and those senses are being used only to the extent it is supposed to be used in that service, but the focus is, it is being done for the pleasure of Lord. So whether it is chanting, my tongue is chanting and the ears are hearing and the fingers are moving the beads, but internally I am just praying Krishna Antarmukha. Then it will be possible to do devotional activities with a focus within rather than focusing outside. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to focus in devotional life within. The focus in devotional life also becomes how it will become source to achieve my aspirations, kamya karma. Then bhakti becomes a source of achieving the objectives and the aspirations and the objects which I am known. That's even worse. And kamya karma is still better. But worse off is that no, we start using devotional life for achieving certain things. Uh, Consciously, deliberately, proactively, no, vigorously. That is a problem. Sometimes it may happen because, like, no, it is in the flow of our transition from conditional life, it will happen. But deliberately making it a source of, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives that story of a person who was using shaligram as a, way to break the peanuts and all that. There's a story which comes in Upakhyana Upadesh. But basically using Lord for one's, as a medium to fulfill one's, and using devotees to medium to fulfill one's, objectives. So that is happening because Krishna Bahirmukha. So Krishna Antarmukha will happen that one, like, no, this is parallelly, this is happening Nishkam Karma. And then, we are able to focus in devotional life within. And then whatever devotional life happens is actually good, actually. That is going to give us the taste to move on. We'll wait. We'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it more. We'll go deeper. We'll go deeper. We'll go deeper. That itself is going to catch, because bhakti is not jada. Bhakti is chetan. Bhakti is actually superior to even Lord, as per Rupa Goswami. So bhakti can definitely attract. The bhakti is not attracting because we are not looking at his Bahirmukha happening. So Antarmukhi bhakti will definitely pull more, give more guidance, give more shelter and all those things. And that becomes a source of pleasure and fulfillment for a devotee. So I think that is pretty much about it. That's what is being discussed. Is the qualitative oneness and the how to basically these two parallel lines of practicing nishkam bhavana in our responsibilities and our duties and in our this thing. First of all, duties have to be done, and then doing it more for wisdom and not for doing it because we're supposed to, and we do it any which ways. And we discussed the symptom of the same, we discussed what it means, and then it is going to lead to not Bahirmukha but Antarmukhi devotional life. And simultaneously practicing Antarmukhi devotional life, which we can stably do if we understand that we are not, we practice detachment from the fruitive mentality and then simultaneously engage in devotional life progressively. Then it becomes, then whatever service we do it more at the level of consciousness and not just at the level of, gross level to achieve some gross things or subtle things. Thank you very much. Any comments or any reflections or any questions?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your wonderful class, telling how Krishna Bahirmukha and Krishna Antarmukha also. So regarding this last concept only, we see the top leaders in ISKCON, whichever ashram or whatever the services, they, some of them, means they all by default, by our understanding, they are superior to us. So they are Krishna Antarmukh only, there's no question of Krishna Bahirmukh. So some of them stressing a lot, do this, quite active in, all are active only, but appearing active, and others are going on the way you said, what the external devotional practice goes on is fine, but internally at the consciousness level, they are, all the person who has reached that level is quite active internally, and externally whatever is going on is okay, my senses are rendering some service, etc. So how do we understand? Well, sometimes the younger devotees may be inspired, oh, this sannyasi, this Prabhu or Mataji is telling, do this, whatever, book distribution, temple opening, and this and that. And on the other side, some are kind of peacefully going on. So what course of action the younger devotees should get into?
Sure. Thank you, Prabhuji, for very, very wonderful question, which will force me to also churn more. and for my benefit. The key point which every devotee has to understand is that of balance. uh, it is very so that is one fundamental thing which all devotees need to accept and understand in their life, is that uh, our head and heart in Golok, feet on ground. As soon as we assume that our head and heart and even feet has to be in Golok, we'll fall down. And as soon as we just remain on ground, then we can't go back also. So there has to be a balance where one is stably situated in one situation and performing devotional life according to one's capability, capacity, and adhikar. Of course, one has to push oneself to broaden one's capacity or to expand one's capacity, but that pushing cannot lead to the neglect in the other areas. It has to be a healthy push. It has to be a very regulated and a controlled and manageable push in one's devotional life. So that is one thing from the devotee's perspective. Because as part of organization, there is no limit to what you can do. Actually, even 24 hours will fall short, we can continue doing. So it will just is no limit to it. And definitely we have to also realize that this organization is very important also, because it's at the end of the day, it is while it may have its objectives, KPIs given by the leaders, and achieving so many things which may apparently look very this target, that target, so many things. But at the end of the day, all these things, when we see together, is also moving this organization ahead. It's also making it is also keeping some movement happening in the organization, which has helped people like us when we came, and it will continue to help others because it is putting life in the whole thing. So in the overall picture, all these things are also important, and thus that kind of stress is also very, very important, because organization is critical in Kali Yuga. Otherwise, in isolation, we will just end up doing something which is actually definitely not very Krishna conscious. So this Sangha is very, very important. That's why Prabhupada also in a lot of his purports is emphasized a lot on the organizational aspect of devotional life. That is very, very evident in this, because he wanted to ensure that this organization is also very critical. So one's spiritual life and the organization, one has to actually blend it very harmoniously and based on one's capability. And definitely there will be leaders who will push, because like in our organization, there are leaders who will push, and not this much revenue, now this much revenue. But so that kind of push also has to be seen in a right light, because unless that push is there, we'll not ultimately grow or expand. And growth is essential for survival. We have seen so many past things, organizations or efforts or initiatives which if not have grown, have not survived. So growth is essential for survival. That is also a fact. But at the same time, these two contradictory or apparently contradictory, but not actually contradictory, these two realities have to be managed. So that is also reality, and my balance is also a reality. Now let us see how much I can manage both these realities by not leading to neglect of another, one over another kind of thing. So without actually, so that's I think the position which an individual devotee has to take. It cannot go in any extreme where one is just lost control and vision of one's own life and is spoiling and has spoiled actually big time his own personal life for mission. That leads to a lot of chaos. That is also not right, and that cannot be a practice. That cannot be something which we are generally we would like to see in our movement. And at the same time, in being individualistic, introspective, we lose the sight on the organization. That is also not right, because then we are seeing this organization more from mundane perspective and not able to see the spiritual value it is adding to the world. So this balance has to be struck by devotees in general, and there will be people in different situations. They'll push, they'll say different things because they are in different situation. But one has to see in one's own situation what can be done. Therefore, again, it goes back to balance, like sadhana, association, preaching, health, uh, relationships with others, for brahmacharis and for grahasthas both. Grahasthas at their home, for their kids and all. Then one's livelihood. All these things have to be, these are different realities, and thinking one is not a reality is actually foolishness. All these are realities, and we have to manage all these realities to the extent we can do. I think that's hopefully it makes sense, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Like you told, this Bhuktikami, Muktikami, they are asanta, they are not peaceful, and devotees are peaceful. And another verse also in like it is told, akama sarva kamava moksha kama udarde tibran bhakti. So even if we have some desire, then by practicing Krishna consciousness it will go away. So we see that in the initial level of practicing Krishna consciousness, our motive is not pure devotional services. Sometimes we practice devotional service and don't know what is the actual result that we are going to get. So in that case, we feel frustrated in life. Then what we should do? Because in this position, we do not feel the result of Krishna consciousness coming in our life.
Yeah, that's a very
because we have some material desires also.
Sure, that's a very good point and a good question, that observation, that while we are saying all these things, and how come, like, and sometimes we also, that's a practical realization also, that we don't feel very comfortable. So actually, we need to understand this point, akama, sarukama, mokshkama, udaradi, tivrena bhakti yogena, in a right spirit. That's why the varnashram is being created, okay? That based on one's nature and desire, one takes a position which helps one fulfill one's desire. And now one may see that, no, okay, if I have taken that position, then just by the execution of duty, and eventually just by nature of that place or situation, one will actually get the results, okay? It will come and you will enjoy also. But that enjoyment is not going to interfere in one's devotional life. That is actually, according to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, certain aspects of even Grahastha life is part of pure devotional service in oneself, because it is part of one's situation. That is fine. So over a period of time, when one does continue, so a devotee basically starts in his devotional life, and then he understands that this is my nature, and this is what I want to do, and so he situates himself according to that nature, okay? And for doing that, a devotee has to be honest, and devotee needs to understand that it is not that renunciation is giving birth to bhakti, or even enjoyment is not going to give birth to bhakti. Neither of these two, okay? Bhakti is going to result to bhakti. So it's important for me to practice bhakti in a nice way, in a sustainable way, in a peaceful way, okay? So so then it becomes important that I take a position which is according to my nature and position. I do that, and in that, obviously, I've taken that because there are certain desires also, and then one does that, duties, desires get fulfilled, but one continues doing one's duty. So it just continues to happen. So that will lead to the goodness. And while we are actually practicing devotional life, it doesn't lead to actually future activities or future results, because on one hand we are focused on responsibility, and the example given over in Shastra is like mustard seeds has been fried in the in the pan of pure devotional service. So such seed of activities which we are doing, and we are getting immediate results also and enjoying also, but those are not leading to the future results, prarabdha, because simultaneously when we are practicing devotional life and trying to gain wisdom, knowledge, and doing it as a nice duty and continuously practicing devotional life, this is how Lord arranges to also fulfills the desire of his devotees and also nullify the future results of those actions. That's the program of the Lord. So in that way, a devotee is satisfied also. Akamokar, sarvkama, moksha, and also it doesn't lead to the future results also. That's how it is. Make sense? Any other question?
Hare Krishna. Atmaram, Gauranga, thank you very much. You did operation, my operation without anesthesia.
Hare Krishna.
By saying that what is this kama karma. Feeling. Yesterday, Sri Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu gave a brilliant example of Tukaram Maharaj, when the birds are sitting. But by your explanation, it is really understanding that feeling of superiority in presence and creating inconveniences, etc. So, thank you very much actually. You have made me naked. That's why I keep on inquiring to show the superiority actually. So, I want to work on that. So, my question is, there is one statement of Srila Prabhupada in first canto, because you mentioned the point that actually we have to gain knowledge, which is important. At the same time, we practice it to realize it.
Yeah.
Right? So, Srila Prabhupada says here, a highly potent drug injected intravenously acts at once on the whole body. The transcendental topics of the Lord, injected through the ear by the pure devotee of the Lord, can act very efficiently. Now this is the statement I am still trying to understand.
Yes.
Oral realization of transcendental messages implies total realization.
Yeah.
Just as a fructification of one part of the tree implies fructification of all other parts. This realization for a moment in association of pure devotees is like Sukadeva Goswami prepares one's complete life for eternity. So I just want to understand this. Oral realization of the transcendental messages implies total realization.
Sure. Now let me read one thing. It's teachings of Lord Kapila Prabhupada and first verse of Prabhupada, which I think will give more clarity, that as to here Prabhupada is saying that just oral reception is going to give realization, but then as you're mentioning the drug, so I'll come to that, okay, and just let me just read this very briefly. This is teachings of Lord Kapila, first verse. Just a second. Just a second, please bear with me. Okay. So anyways, I think I'm just trying to find it out, but sure. When human society accepts Varnashram Dharma, it can gradually come to the understanding of Brahman. By birth, everyone is a Shudra. Therefore, everyone has to be educated. The word Dvija means twice born. One is first born through the womb of mother, and one's next birth is given by spiritual master and Vedic knowledge. And then Prabhupada is making the point on mode of goodness. The importance of mode of goodness to accept transcendental knowledge. Okay? Yeah, it is there. Just a second. I think I'll just share it. But he makes this point of even this high potency drug being injected, you have to be on the table. Unless that is there, then even high potency drug will not be able to take. And that's mode of goodness. To be on the operation table to accept the high potency drug of transcendental knowledge. So that's the point which Prabhupada makes. I can share it offline with you. So while this is actually the fact that the liberation is actually happening by transcendental realization, but to be actually ready to accept that dose of high potency transcendental drug, one has to be stable, one has to be situated in goodness. And that's how Prabhupada connects it to Varnashram Dharma and everything else. Okay, yeah. So oral reception is sufficient, and actually that is only liberating. It is not that mode of goodness is liberating, but mode of goodness is a condition on which it becomes easier to accept the transcendental knowledge, process it, And that we have practical experience also, that when we are imbued by, or like no, are impacted by more of passion and ignorance, then it becomes difficult to even understand these transcendental subject matter in a right way. Like Prabhuji was mentioning this point now, that somebody will not be able to actually accept the instructions in a constructive way. He will take the instruction and actually end up, making a mess in one's own life. Okay, so these are the signs that one is actually situated in passion and ignorance. So like that. So therefore, this is also a reality, and to accept this reality, one has to be in a platform of goodness, and that's where the concept of all these things come, nishkam and all those things come. Makes sense, hopefully.
As I understand that in general this is true, but like some cases like Mrugari, so we find no trace of goodness in his life.
Yes.
So all killing animals ruthlessly and all that. But he accepted the mercy.
Yes.
Suddenly it came. It is Krupa. His case is kind of Krupa Siddha only.
Yes.
Similarly, Valmiki also we can say.
Yeah.
All that. So some of these personalities could take that high
Immediate.
dose of mercy,
Yes.
though they were apparently nowhere even in the Varnashram also.
Yes.
They were downtrodden. And that's what one of the shlokas, Kirata Hunanda Pulinda Pulkasha also says.
Yes.
So in general, this is true for sadhan bhakti, regulated
Yes.
this thing. But there have been cases also of some few,
Yeah.
very great personality to very low fallen person, and they could match with that. And then they had kind of regular practice, like Mrugari after accepting, then he was going on chanting Hare Krishna, he was getting prasadam, whatever
Absolutely.
that supply. And
Yes.
similarly, Valmiki also composed this thing. So,
Yes.
but that kind of sudden hike could happen also
Yes. Yes.
for few individuals.
In fact, it happens in many of our lives also when we accept Krishna consciousness. No, somebody, we are engaged in different activities, and as soon as we accept Krishna consciousness, it immediately changes our mindset and life and all. So that happens with many people. Like, no, we hear so many people who are like into drinking and all those things, but then immediately, like, no, they read Bhagavad Gita and then they are transformed. They go here, they go there, they go to Vrindavan, and all those things happen. So that we see even now. Only thing is, in general, as you are saying, and one is that we accept it first place, and then to actually apply it and no continuously progress on it. That is another aspect of it. Generally, we see that no, that happens, and that is actually true, and that shows the potency of the transcendental message also. But to actually lead to the point of perfection, one has to then follow in general also. But what you are saying, Prabhuji, even for lower and higher, that is true for us also. But in the beginning of devotional life, eventually we see that no, okay, now you kind of stabilize and all. So Krishna gives that dose of very quick mercy to everyone, and it makes sense also. Like that's why Prabhupada says that bhog and tyag. So when one is actually frustrated with the pleasures of this world, and one is not actually in any position per se, no regulation, nothing, but sometimes that becomes a very good motivation to accept transcendental knowledge. But the point which on the sustaining it and actually doing it, then this will be needed. I hope it makes sense. Yes. So for us in general, that's the point which we can focus on. Yeah. So that's right. And while these examples also exist. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Any other point? Sure. We'll end. It's 9:15. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki. By Gaur Premanande.